Okay, so today we're starting the Flute and Piano series with a piece by Mexican composer Lara, which she wrote in 2008. It's called Niebla del Alba. It's for Ana Maria Iasako. Not sure who those people are, but yeah, here's the piece. I'm pretty sure there's a SoundCloud recording of it, and it's 6 minutes altogether. It's in three movements. The first one is Misterioso. It's just a couple pages. The next one is quarter equals 70. Yeah. And it looks like we have some harmonic trills in the flute. And then the third movement is the longest by far. It's at quarter equals 100. And it has the most pages at least. The SoundCloud recording does have some program notes, so why don't I just translate that? The title is roughly Dawn Mist. Consists of three short pieces for flute and piano that establish a brief yet intense conversation, the exploration of timbre and melody, along with polyphonic writing featuring moments of convergence and divergence, repose and tension, evokes the painted dream through which we all pass as we live. Dedicated to my dearest friends Anna Maria Tradati and Asako Arai. Anna Maria Tradati is a pianist, it looks like, and then I'm assuming Asako Arai is a flautist. Yes, as far as I can tell. So that's a little bit of information about the premiere. I'm assuming those are the two people who premiered it. And yeah, that's all I have to really say. I mean, this is does not have a ton of views or likes, and it was, I think, just posted to Lara's SoundCloud 7 years ago. So, link to this is in the video description, and should be interesting. I always like a set of miniatures, so let's get into it. Okay, yeah. So as always, nice, simple ideas. Um, little bit of a cumbersome notation at times, but all three miniatures were really interesting. A lot of like playing with matching at the unison or octave and stuff like that. And I think all three of them focused on gestures that kind of work well for both instruments. Um, and for the most part, it was just conventional playing. I do like the rhythmic writing in this. I think it's pretty indicative of a lot of Anna's other music. We've looked at a lot of her pieces at this point, so I kind of knew what to expect going into this one. But yeah, I can't complain. The second movement, as it turns out, was the longest in duration, and it had the simplest idea. It was just this like timbral trill against trills in the piano kind of thing. And then, yeah, the first one is just a very short introductory kind of thing, which plays with grace notes a lot. The third one is probably the most impressive from a composer's perspective, but the second one is probably the most memorable, I would think. Um, it has the strongest idea, I think. So, yeah, that was Niebla del Alba for alto, flute, and piano. Tomorrow we're looking at probably the Jonathan Harvey piece, I want to say, because that's from the 90s. So, yeah. Okay, so today I'm looking at Nataraja, not sure how it's pronounced, by Jonathan Harvey. It's a piece for flute and piano. with the flautist doubling on piccolo. And when I first discovered it, it was really quite a fun experience listening to it for the first time. Um, I mean, we've listened to quite a few Jonathan Harvey pieces, and for the most part, they all really hit. He doesn't have very big output of pieces, but they're always really engaging, I find. Nataraja is the name given to Shiva in his aspect as the four-armed dancer whose movements create and destroy matter throughout eternity. His image was the inspiration of this piece. Was commissioned by the Nicholas Young Society with funds provided by the Southeast Arts Association. First performed by Philippa Davies with Julian Jacobson on piano, I'm assuming, at Priory Lower School, Lewes, on the 20th of April, 1984. Published in 1985 by Faber Music. We have some library codes here. There's some phonetic symbols that the flautist has to read, so maybe the pianist has to read it too, I can't remember. But yeah, the circle with a dot in it is clicking, like a, I'm assuming, or no, it's on your teeth, so it's more of a, and then the C symbol is behind the teeth, so that's the sound. I hope my mic's picking these up. I have no idea. Key noise is X note head. Key slap while also playing the note is a plus symbol. Um, there's a quasi pits indication, and uh, diamond note heads are just used for breathy tone. And then, of course, there's also harmonics. This is all flautist stuff, pretty sure. Uh, Observe the pedaling in the piano. It's extremely important. Even the una corda signs as well. Okay, so yeah, it's dedicated to the flautist who premiered it, Philippa Davies, and it starts with piccolo. Yeah, I remember that. It's about 8 minutes long. The score is 27 pages. See if there's anything in the score that sticks out. Yeah, lots of clustery things in the piano. Interesting little piece and premise. Okay, this program note is actually a little bit different. It says um, the outer sections of the piece are characterized by dancing rhythms, framing a middle section, which is a more tranquil melody, winding through static harmonies. There are suggestions of flames which encircle the god in one or more energetic moments. So that might be just a slightly different program note by the composer. And the year on this is actually 1983, so I guess it was composed a year before it was performed. Link to this is in the video description. Let's get into it. I'll refresh my memory on this thing. I'm a little bit tired today, so I was fading in and out a little bit, but um, yeah, it's a super creative piece. The program note made me think it was going to be more in like a ternary form, but it really isn't. I mean, the piccolo thing that starts the piece does come back and marks pretty strong, like return to older material, but that tranquil section is actually quite far into the piece. So I wouldn't say it's like evenly proportioned or structured like that. Um, this clicking, the pianist does this mouth clicking thing as they play specific clusters. The this one being the highest C and B on the piano, and it's very effective. It's like a really cool effect. I also like um, this like dominant seventh chord sound almost that you get towards the end, and it's like a descending tritone kind of thing. because Jonathan Harvey is a spectral composer, I'm constantly thinking like, okay, when does the harmonic series come in? When do you get those dominant seventh type sounds? And in this case, it's a very interesting moment of its own kind of thing. It seems like a lot to put together, but also a lot of fun to put together, you know. I like the moment where they're both playing together in unison and they lock in for a long time towards the beginning. It's so weird. Um, that's a fantastic sound. It really reminds me of Claude Vivier. Um, and I'm wondering if I think Vivier might have studied with Harvey or something, or um, I know that, well, were both of them associated with the German feedback group? Can't remember. Maybe only maybe only Vivier was. Yeah, this is like right the 80s are right when he started working at Earcam. So this is like really important time in his career when this one came out. So yeah, I think tomorrow um we're gonna look at Claude Vivier's piece um for flute and piano, which I think is an earlier work of his. That's a 1970s one. So yeah, another we're gonna jump 10 years in the past and then another 10 years for the last piece of the series, and that'll be it. All right, so today's piece is Pièce for flute and piano by Canadian composer Claude Vivier. There's a couple of these pieces just titled Pièce, which he wrote in the 1970s. They're some of his earliest works, and they're pretty short. I believe they were like commissioned for competitions, like for the performers. So I think there's a guitar one and a flute one for sure, which is the one we're looking at today. There might be a cello one, I can't remember. Um, this is the score. I actually found it here in Winnipeg at a book sale that was at a local mall. So this was in the hands of somebody, some flautist in Winnipeg who was interested in new music. And I bought it for $1. If you open the score, you can see its original price was $17. And along with the piano score, you also have the flute part here, which is, I was reading through it shortly after I purchased this. It's not very interesting on its own. I think it's a lot more interesting in the context of the piece. So, yeah, I think it's like 5 pages, one, two, and it's 5 minutes of music. The first page gives us a biography of Claude Vivier in French, English, and German. There's his picture. We have already done at least one Claude Vivier episode. I would refer you to that if you want to learn more about him, my thoughts on him. So I've studied with Gilles Tremblay and subsequent in Canada, then went to Europe to study with Stockhausen, Gottfried Michael Koenig, and Hans Ulrich Humpert. He obtained several grants from the Canada Council and was named Composer of the Year by the Canadian Music Council in 1981. In 1977, so 2 years after this piece, he undertook a long journey to Asia and the Middle East. So this is, all those influences are not present in this piece in the same way. And then, he was one of the few Canadian composers who was able to devote his time entirely to composition, writing one commission after another. But he died in Paris in 1983, so his career wasn't that long in terms of years. who's to say what he would be doing nowadays if he continued to live? He died really, really young. I believe he was murdered. Yeah, the present piece is part, as I was saying, it's part of a series of compositions. They were written in 1975 for Tremplin International. I guess that's a competition of the Concours de Musique du Canada. So he wrote 7 competition pieces. This is just one of them. So I'm going to listen to this on my phone and follow along with the score. I encourage you to click on the link in the video description to hear this piece for yourself. I'm not terribly familiar with these 7 compositions, so I'm just going to purely talk about what this one sounds like to me today. So, yeah, see you in 5 minutes. I should also say before I start that this publisher seems to publish a lot of Canadian, particularly French-Canadian composers. So I'm seeing a lot of Jacques Two on here, for example, and Michael Gagnon. The Vivier pieces seem to be pianoforte. Some of his other pieces, so he has a piece for violin and clarinet, a piece for violin and piano, and a piece for cello and piano. Those are all available through this publisher. What are they even called? Doberman YPAN. And then they also have this piece and Hymnen on Die Nacht for voice and piano. Paramirabeau, his famous piece for almost Puro ensemble. I didn't realize that that's the instrumentation, so I guess technically I've written a Paramirabeau plus percussion piece. It's like a Messiaen quartet, but you swap the clarinet for flute. And then also, of course, his famous orchestra piece, Zipangu, which I believe is a chamber orchestra piece, but that's available through this as well. So, okay, now I will listen to it. Okay, yeah, so my thoughts on this one. It's really, really short, so it kind of just packs a lot of ideas in there. I was surprised about this big like tremolo on a B in the piano. It's not very idiomatic to have a repeated note thing like that. It's almost like a little drum roll, and this thing, it starts all the way over here, it keeps going on and on and on. Takes up almost a third of the piece, maybe more, and it's effectively just like a little pedal point, right? Like to set up your grand ending. So I feel like this section is doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of like demarcating the form of the piece, cueing the listener that there's going to be a big ending. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of different elements in it that are very Vivier. And it's very early work, so he clearly has a lot of his style ironed out already. What I found kind of interesting was the use of silences. And also, you only really get soloistic flute moments in the opening here. After that, it's a lot of the two performers playing together and pausing and stuff. So, yeah, very dramatic and theatrical. Keeps your attention. I don't know if I could listen to it for 10 minutes, but for a 5-minute piece, it works, you know. So that was piece 4, Flute and Piano. Tomorrow we're listening to a piece by Russian composer Sofia Gubaidulina, and that'll be it for the Flute and Piano series. Glad I could include a Vivier piece. I think it's our second Vivier episode, and there might never be a third one on the channel. So yeah, it was nice to visit his music again today. Today I'm going to be listening to a piece by Sofia Gubaidulina. It's called Allegro Rustico, and it's for Flute and Piano, written in 1963. Pretty long piece. Looks like 11 pages of score, and then the part follows immediately. Oh, it looks like it's her second published chamber work. Her first one being a piano quintet. And it only takes about 5 minutes to play. See if there's any other flute works of note here. She has a couple like concerto type pieces with flute featured in them. Um, she has a piece for mezzo-soprano, flute, harpsichord, and cello. Similar ensemble here. One solo flute piece from 1978. This piece from 63. A flute quartet from the 70s. Another flute and piano piece from 1978. And then the Debussy Trio, flute, viola, harp. She's written for that. Okay. Yeah, so I guess this is one of two pieces that she's written for the same instrumentation. After today's listening, I'm going to talk a little bit about this series. This was kind of a interesting one. 4 scores was all we had. Um, and then I might select the next genre that we'll go over. A lot of the categories that we have yet to get to are really short, so we might be doing a bunch of short series back to back kind of thing. Yeah, let's just jump into this. No immediate observations. I'm just gonna listen to it with the score. So this ended up being a really nice finale to the series. Hopefully you're listening to it as well. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. The theme is very kind of corny, triplet figure thing, and there's like this molto perpetuo kind of piano part, which is quite challenging to play. I'm curious who these first performers were who premiered it, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely tonal, and it seems to be like her earlier style. Definitely more accessible than anything else of hers that we've listened to, I think. Um, yeah, it's kind of fun. I can see a lot of flautists having fun with this, if assuming they have a good accompanist to play with. You would have to plan well in advance for your recital um, to do this one, but it looks like a lot of fun. Um, yeah, so my thoughts on the series. Flute and piano is an interesting um, genre. It's sort of like um, obviously there's like violin and piano has a deep history, um, but flute and piano is a little bit more 20th century, I would say. Flute is one of those instruments that has a really long history, but the modern flute is not as old as you would think. We started with the Lara piece, and then we had the Jonathan Harvey, and yesterday's was the Claude Vivier, of course, and then this one. I think these are all pretty solid pieces. Um, Definitely very different, all very different approaches to the flute, but I think they were all pretty virtuosic, like showing off the agility of the instrument. We had a good mix of different kinds of flutes, like the Jonathan Harvey had some piccolo. The Lara piece was just alto, flute, and piano, which was kind of interesting. The Lara, in compared to these other pieces, was actually tried to blend the two instruments the most. I think it more approached like a chamber ensemble, where the flute and piano are equal parties. The other three pieces, I think the flute was more of a soloist. Good spread. It was like 2020s, or no, early 2000s, 80s piece, a 70s piece, and a 60s piece. So yeah, not a bad exploration. Definitely does not cover what is being done for the instrument right now. Like all these scores are pretty old. but hopefully it piqued your interest. Maybe um, for like a flautist, this would be an interesting way to get you interested in new composers, new rep. I know a lot of young musicians, they're not really taught how to develop a taste in music, so they just end up play liking what their teachers tell them to like, you know. So hopefully this is giving you a window into 20th century music, 21st century music. Sweet. Okay. So we're gonna do bassoon. This one's weird. Solo bassoon because most of these are gonna be all by the same composer. It might just be like three pieces by Bione and one piece by Rasgato. Um, but I mean they're all good pieces, so um, yeah, may as well. That'll be if there's only four of them, that'll just be next week.